Hey everybody, we are at it again. Back home, tour is over. I am going to dive into a song tonight called Light Up. This is part 4 in our series of trying to figure out what went into making the latest album, Vitals. This has been really fun. So thank you guys for tuning in, supporting it, saying kind things. So what we have going on, first of all, the thing I've noticed about the Facebook Live thing since we've been doing it is really impossible to engage with the questions. It seems like the questions get locked in, and like every 10 or 15 minutes, then a new set of questions will come in. So the questions are dated. It's not as fluid as Periscope, so that seems to be a challenge. I don't know if it's just my phone, I need to update it or what. So we had asked for any questions on this song or anything in general to email them up front, and I have a list of questions that I'm already looking at that I could see what some of you guys were wondering about. And a lot of the questions are basically about the same thing, so I'll just... As I'm talking through the song, I'll probably answer a majority of the questions, and then a few of the ones that I don't, and a few of the off-the-wall questions, I'll just throw in some responses towards the end. So Light Up. What happened in this song? This song, when people started asking us, it's interesting, when you finish a record and then you start doing interviews about the whole album, it's easy to forget really what went into each song, because you just kind of begin to have this broad perspective now. You look at the album as a whole and you begin to answer questions about how the writing process went down. And this has been really fun for me, getting a chance to go back to each song and look at all the demos, all the pieces of the process, to remind me about embracing the unique process that may happen for each song. I mean, this is the 4th song I'm going through on Vitals, and I think all of these 4 songs have had different methods on how we got to the end result. No method has been the same. They'll ask us, well, do the lyrics come first? Does the melody come first? Does the track come first? Do you guys write by doing a jam session with the band? And really the answer is yes, all of it. We employ all those methods. And it's never seems to be the same way twice. And so we try to stay open to any avenue of just trying to get a good song to manifest. And you got to be able to adjust, I guess, or just be flexible. And certainly that's what this album was about, is trying to break any creative ruts we might fall in, or thinking a song, a Mutemath song especially, has to go down a certain way. So this song is no exception. And it's really, this song happened because of, I would probably say, 4 different things in the atmosphere, 4 different ideas that kind of all converged finally when we took a trip to India, actually, in 2014. But the way it started was with the Darren track, which is usual, except that I got this track and I immediately dismissed it. I knew there was something cool about it, but I had nothing, nada, no melodies, no nothing. So I just immediately shelved it and moved on. This was a time in the beginning of 2014, we were trying to write a song every day. So it was throw an idea up. If you have an immediate reaction, get it down. And if you start getting bogged down, you don't have nothing, move on to something else that you can immediately react to. So I got this idea called Jehoshaphat. That's the name of this track from Darren. And I'll let you hear it, because this is really one of the, well, yeah, this is a tentpole for this song here. It's one of the beginning places. There's a few beginning places, but this is one. And it's a good track. We kept it around, just didn't have a song idea at the time. can hear a lot of the production elements that stayed. Programming, a lot of the vibe is there. It's just the chord progression. I think that was the thing I was mainly being turned off by at the time. It just wasn't a chord progression. It was magnetic to me. But all the sounds are hype. Right here, the main crescendo of the bridge. I'm gonna have some words. If you don't mind. That's not rude, I'm sorry. Nerds go good with this though. Just vibe, atmosphere. Then we get a little drumming spurt. DK. The spirit of the I still believe in us part. So it was great. I knew it was cool. There was some good elements in there, but it was essentially Darren jamming with his programming and synths, and I just didn't hear a song at that time. So it went to the shelf. And fast forward a few months later, we're in rehearsal for some shows in the summer, and we're just jamming on this little idea. And this is a live band jam of us thinking we were creating a little transition for the show, but it wound up feeling like we might be onto a song. And a lot of times when we jam, we'll just go from an A part to a B part, a verse part, chorus part, and just go back and forth and try to give everyone a chance to find parts. Gives me a chance to see if there's any lyrics that'll manifest, something will happen naturally. So that's what this was. of times when we're writing, in this band scenario, I just cake on a bunch of delays and verb onto my vocal and just kind of throw melodies and vocals around that are just unintelligible. I'm not singing anything, but maybe when I listen back, I'll hear words. Don't say enough right there. So we just go back and forth on that for like 5 minutes. And again, that happened. We documented it. But I had no, I guess, inclination at that moment to sit down and try to take it apart and write a song, figure out lyrics. It was just shelved. And then fast forward 4 months later, we're about to leave for India. And a lot of people have asked in the questions that I saw for this song, a lot of people want to know, what's the lyrics about? Where does it come from? And it is pretty much what you think it is. A lot of people are on target in the interpretation. And it was certainly about an argument that I was having with my wife. It actually, it came to a boiling point right before this trip that I was going to on India. And, you know, the gist of just me being a crappy husband and, you know, neglecting the family, doing the basics of too focused on work and what was going on. And yeah, a lot of times I call this the adolescent phase of a relationship. And those of you who have been in relationships for a while, you know when that happens. All of a sudden, this transition happens where magic just doesn't automatically happen like it did in phase one. And, you know, when you start getting to that place where, okay, something about this other person is now bumming you out. And what they're doing is bumming me out, and I've got to tell them now, and I've got to, and I think that my wife was certainly bummed out with having to tell me, hey, you're neglecting me. Hey, can I have some attention here? And it's like, shouldn't that be something I naturally do? And then when you get to the place, all right, well, I'm going to try. I'm going to make this work. To not have the chip on your shoulder that, yeah, but you're only doing that because I brought it up. And you got to get past that place of holding that, I don't know, holding that chip against each other. And now you're in the work of a relationship. And you realizing, okay, yeah, I'm naturally selfish. And I have to work on not being selfish. And when my wife can graciously remind me when I'm slipping off the slope, that's a good thing. And we're working. Now we're working to make this thing happen. We're not going to check out. And, you know, gosh, long-term relationships are certainly, it feels scarce. You know, obviously we all know the stats. And it's easy to check out when you go, well, I don't feel how I used to feel when we first started our relationship, you know? And so it must be over, you know? I want to feel that again, so I should go elsewhere. We should call it quits. And I think I was feeling moved in that moment, especially coming out of that argument. And I can't articulate this well in the heat of an argument or you know, just in a conversation. I usually feel like, well, there's a pending song that's going to happen where I will be able to express this point. And I don't know, in its most pure, or at least most compelling way. So, as I'm even trying to talk about it right now, I realize I'm sounding like a buffoon. And so I had to get all these emotions, though, stirred up, that finally, when I got to India, and we thought Vitals was written. We got to India, and I felt like, you know what, there's a few off days here. I'm going to just try to write a song. And I was listening through some of the demos, and I listened to what we had just done with this Light Up. Well, we hadn't called it Light Up yet, but this band jam. And realizing that it was close in tempo to this Jehoshaphat demo, it seemed like one needed the other. This jam kind of needed the production components of what Darren had started. So in India, I kind of put the two components in one project, got them all at the same tempo, the same key, and I just began to manipulate chords and write to that. And I think this emotion of singing about a relationship that has been weathered, and is making a conscious decision to endure the test of time, and we're not going to throw in the towel. And I wanted to come from that place, and certainly reaffirming my love to my wife, my commitment to keeping sparks alive, no matter how difficult it is. We're not out of love. This is about a transition we're going through. We're growing up. We're learning that this takes work. So with all that rolling around, the first demo was made in India. It was the off day I had in the hotel in Delhi. I think I even Instagrammed it as it was happening. And this was it. Still different from what it became. This is an illegal sample. We had to wind up replacing it. I remember Roy came over from his hotel room and laid down that beautiful rhythm guitar part, which really helped it along. So back to the verse. We hadn't spiced up the arrangement too much yet. Here's the bridge. And there's the part that we got stuck on for a while, because I was such a fan of that outro of the Jehoshaphat demo that Darren had put together, that hype drum part. So we tried to make that the bridge. Back to the chorus, and then it ends. And that was the original demo, and everyone was excited about it. We felt like, okay, this is a song that should be on Vitals. We were originally planning on Vitals being just a 10-track album, and this would become the 11th. The 12th one actually would become Bulletproof. That was the last song to get added. So it really rounded out the whole thing. Now I can't even imagine this album without Bulletproof and Light Up. So I'm glad we gave it a little more time. So then we came back and tried to figure out, okay, how can we better this and turn this into a Mutemath song? We were wondering if it was too programmed, and I think that was part of why it was nice to have that organic drum bridge. And we also had to replace some samples that were not legal. So we worked on this as our final version that was about to go onto the final pressing of Vitals. This sounds like the record now. This is pretty much it. One key difference.
I can't believe that you think I never see that you deserve the best. Deserve the best. If you're afraid, then
well, that's all the same. I think we spiced up the second verse at this point.
I don't like the tears and through the years.
New synth part.
We traveled all this way. All this way.
And we felt the original arrangement of the bridge from the demo was just a little too indulgent, so we tried to trim it up a little bit, and it became this.
Nobody said it'd be easy. We thought we could prove them wrong. And we know it takes more than a feeling to carry the two of us on. I still believe in love. Yeah, I still believe in love. I still believe in love. I still love love. Say love, we're not out of love. We just grow having
Gave the synth bass a break. Okay, so at this point, this is basically the album version, except for the bridge. The bridge is where what wound up changing, and I'll tell you what happened. I feel like even as I'm talking about this, there's probably some people going, "Why did you change it? Why did we take that moment out?" And I will tell you why. I had been watching a show. It's not because of this show, but I was definitely inspired by this show, Project Greenlight. And I'm completely, I don't know, enamored with the process of making films and movies and what goes into it. And it is such an in-depth, amazing process to me. And Project Greenlight, if you don't know, it's a show on HBO that is about getting young filmmakers greenlighted to make their first big budget studio film. And it's really interesting, and a common theme that usually happens, you realize, is these young filmmakers get this chance to bring their dream alive with a budget and studio heads and all this stuff, is that they can get focused on certain things that don't support the story. And this is where you can lose perspective very easy. Not even for young filmmakers, but you realize that as a director, and why you do test screenings is to check, after you've done some edits of all your footage, is the story coming across in the most compelling way. And I remember there was this one particular episode where the test screening was showing that the story was falling apart a certain place, and the studio heads were pushing for it to just chop this whole section out. And the director was fighting for it because it was cinematography was just, it was masterful, and he had caught this moment where the light was coming in perfectly, and hit the actors was brilliant. So anyone who ever held a camera would be high-fiving when they saw this particular scene. And, there's no way we can cut that out. And the simple argument is that it just is not supporting the story. It's distracting. And when a viewer comes in and watches the movie, it's just like, what's going on? So with all that, with the whole album for Vitals, we did a sort of test screening. And I talked about this before, and this was about in March, April of last year. We sent it to some friends, some producer friends, and just said, give us your honest reaction from top to bottom, whatever you want to say about it. And common feedback we were getting was, light up, really dig the song, love what you guys are doing, love all the production. That bridge is weird. It's like y'all dropped another song in, and it felt out of place with the sentiment of the lyric. And, and I love the music so much. I love the drum performance so much. I like that it was this strange left turn. Also, by the way, the first version of Vitals that we were sending out in this test screening, which I was hell-bent on, was the album had to start with Composed and was going to end with Remain. It went Composed, Used to. So that was the way that the whole thing unfolded. And aside from everyone going, please don't start the album with Composed, that it was hard for me to wrap my head around. I was like, how is that? How's no one getting that? That's. I thought that was like the right thing to do. That was common critique. Please don't start the album with Composed. And like, what's going on with the bridge for Light Up? It feels like a try-hard move to have this big drumming James Brown moment while I'm singing Nobody Said It'd Be Easy. We thought we could prove them wrong. And I'm talking about this urgent moment in saving a relationship. So we started, we needed to like take a walk, like try to figure out, okay, is this on point? And how do we fix it? And will we feel that the song will get better by doing that? The story of the song, the arc of the song, if you will it become more powerful, more succinct? Which also is an answer to the question of a lot of people have been asking, why did we not put what we're playing live on the record version? And we had thought about that as well. But for the same reason, it felt like for the delivery method of this song in record form, that was a distracting, indulgent move that was not helping, the whole story, if you will. So that's why we didn't do that extended outro, which we just save it for live, and it works in that setting. But for this bridge, we put it, back on the workshop table, and we took out the drums and we began to take it apart to see, is there a better way? Should it be simpler? And I think what we had to realize was it needed to be less about the drum moment and more about doing whatever it would take to support the vocal, the story, if you will. And I feel like that was part of what we commissioned ourselves to do as producers, as record makers, as songwriters, and producing this thing ourselves, was to challenge ourselves to grow up in that capacity. And it's hard to have that perspective when you're self-producing and you're within the band. You can get married to certain parts, and the way the light just came in that one performance, and it's, you're zoomed into the cinematography and you're losing sight of the story, and we took it apart and it became what it is. I'm seeing if I have that here. Some of the elements. And Roy came up with a different guitar line. and it's perhaps not the Mutemath thing to do, but it was the right thing to do for the song. And that's the toughest place when you find yourself in that situation, or at least when we do, which happens sometimes. Usually we feel like the right thing to do for a song is also the right thing to do for the band. And that's great. We can all high five and we can move on quickly. But every now and then you find yourself in a place where you're trying to make a decision of, is it right for the song or is it right for the band? Are we more concerned about arming ourselves with something fun to play? Or are we arming the song so that when you listen to this thing, you get it? You understand what the vocal's doing. You understand the message of the song. God, I sound like an old guy right now. A 20-year-old me could hear me talking right now. It would just punch me right in the face. But I think it's part of just trying to get better at the craft of making records, which is what we wanted to do. And those old guys were right back in the day when they told us we were overplaying on all our early records or whatever. No, it was fun. But I'm really proud of how this song came out, and I think it's resonated. I think it's about something very important to me, and I'm extremely grateful to the guys in the band that they were committed to helping find the best framework, production-wise, performance-wise, to support the story, again, if you will. So that's Light Up. That's it. I'll just talk about a few of the questions before we call it. Some of the questions, there are some that get into some of the technical aspects of producing. Some are stuff like genuinely curious about how many rolls of duct tape Darren goes through in one tour. It's actually just one. We were able to reuse a lot. It's not as bad as you think. We actually use more gaff tape on the other stuff that holds the show together. Do you use auto-tune? Yes, absolutely. I think a lot of times it's how you use auto-tune that can make a difference. And there's moments where you don't, but for the most part, I certainly do on my voice. I think it's good when you layer vocals too, to use it as one of them may be tuned, the other ones are not, and you get for my voice especially, which is a flat tone type of voice, usually layering my vocal makes it sound better. And not always, but in certain instances, I'll tend to layer the vocal. And then you do a combination of what's tuned and what's not for just a thicker sound, And I want to know what equipment or plugin you used for reverb. The reverb in this album is beautiful. Hey, I'll just show you real quick. Let's see. Let's see if you can see this here. I don't know if you can see this. I don't know. I don't know if I can do this here. Is that too bright? Gosh. Yeah, it's probably too bright, huh? Okay. Maybe a little better. Yeah. Okay, so this is just a dummy session. Just I have the stems in. This is not the actual session, but in Logic, there are two reverbs that I leaned on a lot. And there's one in the pedal board, and this would go on vocals, some synths, the spring reverb. There's a few different variations, and that guy coupled with the main Space Designer guy on, and these two working together is usually the reverb sound of the record. And it was either putting the pedal board, or the Space Designer first. If we wanted to have a nice lush stereo-ness after the fact, but still have that gritty, springy sound, we put the pedal board first. Doing it the other way, if we wanted to narrow it down. This guy has a little more flexibility on how you can EQ it and get certain frequencies to ring out pre-delay settings. And this has this linear one. It's beautiful to me. So we use that a lot. And so the combination of those, and every now and then throw in this guy to give it a few bounces to carry in the reverb if we wanted. And it kind of wavers, has that nice tape delay waver, so it kind of thicken things up sometimes. And that, and this guy. So a combination of those four right there. That was it. And right now I'm really excited. I'm about to disassemble the whole studio. I just bought a new computer because this one's dying. It's from 2011. Just bought a new computer, so I'm about to have to raise the game on the production chops here. We're about to jump into Logic 10 and possibly some Ableton. So I've got a few things to be learning over the next few weeks. I'll be doing a crash course on that. Like, this computer can't even run any of this anymore. It's just giving up the ghost now. I know Darren's just gave up the ghost as well. It's like these computers really only have a 5-year shelf life and you have to move on to something else. So I'm not even sure what I just showed you if it even matters. But if you find yourself in a working old computer with Logic 9, those are really nice reverbs. Okay, one more question. Let's see. Well, this won't be the last one, but this is a good one. Where does Darren buy his shirts? I'm going to say Top Shop. I don't really know. It probably is. When you play the song live, there's typically a longer and louder ending, which I love. Why the choice to do a softer ending on the album? Just felt like the softer, more succinct ending for the album was the right sentiment for whatever reason. I feel like it's okay to have a reaction when you're listening to an album of just a nod, just like, that was good, nice. Live, that reaction is not the one you usually want to go for. You usually want to do something that provokes as much applause as possible. So I think once we started playing this song live, one of the things that we zeroed in on was we wanted to end it on a stronger note than how it was on the record. And it took us a while to find the way it is now. But that was, it's okay. You can have two different endings. You can have, we made our peace with that when we started our band. And for better or for worse, I mean, one of my favorite bands that I think wrote the textbook on embracing the difference between the record and what you're doing live is The Police. I think they were masterful at it. I was a huge fan of how they did it. Sometimes they played it just like the record, and then in other moments, they just went way out. And I always enjoyed that. I love their live recordings, all the stuff I had seen from live videos. So it was a huge influence when we were starting Mutemath, and I think we aspired to try to embrace that tradition of how you treat records and how you treat the show. And it's been really fun for us. So I think that's mainly. I'll just do one question about the show. What inspired you guys or gave you the thoughts to pull off some of the crazier things you do live? Surfing the mattress, high five drum solo, Paul swinging the light, etc. I think it's Blue Man Group, Stomp. Aside from The Police, I think when we were starting, I'm just going to go ahead and just lay the cards out on the table right now. I think when we started our band, me and Darren had just gone to see a Blue Man Group show and a Stomp show, and we were really inspired by that. And I think that was a part of that type of show dynamic we somehow hoped to work into what we were doing and didn't really know how. And so those type of things surfaced in the beginning stages of our show, and we've enjoyed that, and it felt like the audiences were enjoying it. So Darren coming from behind his kit and playing a drum solo on the top of my roads, or on the whole roads really, started turning into, 10 years later, putting drum triggers in gloves and them lighting up, and just trying to make these visual events to, I think, help communicate the songs live. It's just part of what we enjoy. And thank you guys for hanging out. Apologize for my sniffles and sick. I got sick last week. That's why I'm trying to recover from this flu stuff that happened. But really, really glad this worked out. Wonderful time to get to be able to share all this with you. Hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys later. Take care.